things that really, catch our attention as being maybe not a red flag, but pushing us the wrong direction, tends to be, maybe people who, especially when we've given some sort of preparation, like for the technical interview, when it's clear that, the engagement on that preparation didn't happen, it's a little bit of a frustrating point for us to say, okay, well, in the real world job, when you needed to, look at something super imperative and didn't spend the time with it that you should have, that doesn't really work. And so if you can't do that in an interview, then it shows us that you might not be able to do that in the real world. Another thing is rambling answers kind of goes hand in hand with preparation. I think a lot of times that comes from nervousness, but it kind of pushes us the wrong direction. Technology is a tough thing, especially now that everyone's had a lot of experience after COVID. Everyone knows how to use Zoom and Teams. So technology stuff, it's not that it, ruins the interview or anything, and we're super lenient. Things happen and things happen to us all the time. But everything that you can do to try to avoid those pitfalls and give your best impression right off the bat is obviously going to be to people's benefit. We especially even see like Arizona has some strange time zones where we don't fit with the rest of the country. And so when people don't pay attention to those details, it just puts us off on the wrong foot of, okay, you weren't detail oriented about this appointment. Are you going to be detail oriented about the rest of the work?
Pitfall is really not doing your research up front ahead of time, or also staying organized about research. Again, with banking recruiting, we know it can be intensive and it's a lot to keep track of, and you're probably doing a lot of networking calls and things, but I tell people to stay super, super organized and detailed about the notes they're taking, because when interviews roll around, you want to be able to study with those so that you're able to both, show your genuine interest in the interview, but also not make little slip ups. Interviews, it can be very, very competitive. And so small things like, for example, whenever somebody says something about a New York office for us, we don't have a New York office. And that's a really unique thing about our bank. If you're interested in us, you probably know it about us. And so something small like that could be the difference of getting an offer or not getting an offer, or moving forward or not. So totally agree on the research. I would say within the interviews themselves, and I think Bryce also touched on this a bit, it's okay to pause if you're not sure how to answer a question and say, like, let me think about that for just a second before you answer, to make sure that you're giving a succinct and clear answer. Sometimes I think people just start speaking and not give the answer that they want to give. And I think it's better to just kind of pause, take a second. We understand that everyone is human in these processes, and that's totally fine to do that.
In the phone interview, the common problem is the candidates talk about too many details, then answer the questions. So I think the interviewer asks some general questions, and we want to know how the candidates think. And so I think the most of the question is the general questions, and we want to know how the candidate thought about the questions. But if the candidate talk about too many details, then I think that they will just leave the main topics. Another thing, I think the common problems is the candidates don't listen to the question very carefully. So sometimes it's because they are very nervous, but I think listen to the question from the candidate and also clarify the question is very important. And during this interaction with the interviewer, that will be give the candidate some time to think about the questions. So they don't need to answer the question very quickly. Just think about the question, then talk about how do they think about that question. So I think that's some suggestion. Also the problems for the candidates. Another one is in the technical solutions in the case studies. Actually, the case study is brand new for the candidates. So if they feared to do a lot of research on the Google or on the website, that will cost a lot of time. But actually, we want to know, when you have such a problems, what do you think about the problem? So we want to know the candidates have the ability to show the steps of their thought. So this is very important. So the solution, the final solution, is not important because we already have the solution. So we don't need the candidate tell us how to solve the question. We want to know how the candidates think about the question. So that's what I want to say. And the resume, of course, is very important because we receive a bunch of the resumes, and even for a position we need 10 people, or I will receive maybe thousands of the resume. So to have a very clear and relative resume is very important. I think the candidate can find a lot of tricks and the introductions on the YouTube to teach them how to write a very good resume. So read our job description carefully and write down the main points, not just list what you can do in the resume. So this is for first suggestion. Another one is stay connection, because most of the time you will get a reject offer, or nobody sends the email to you. But if you're really interested in this position, just stay connection with Wells Fargo, and we have many communities in the Wells Fargo website, and to give the discussion or the interaction with different candidates. And most of them don't have the offer, but they show a very high interest in the financial analytics. So we just have that forum or the community to collect different people, and they can discuss together. And we are also announce some new openings in that website. So stay connection is very important if you really like this job.